All right, guys, I'm gonna get started. I'm just gonna share my screen here in a second. All right, well, thank you for being on the call. And this is something that I've been meaning to talk about for a while, but I think today's a good time to really go over this. So I'm not sure if you guys have talked to your managers about this, but all you guys should be filling out one of these. I fill these out myself. The agent production report, it's really shouldn't be looked at as a way to micromanage. It's more of something that can really help you get to the next level. And the reason why we do these reports is, first of all, is to really hold each other accountable for it. I mean, you need to hold yourself accountable for it. This will help you do that. Your managers need to hold you accountable, so that way you can pretty much perform at your max level. And basically it's really simple. You have whatever week you have. At the end of the week, maybe on Mondays, you turn this in, put your name out over here, the date, and then these should be like all the appointments that you guys had, what kind of lead it was, A lead, B lead. How many of these did you set? How many did you see? And then how many did you sell? Premium. And then how many financial forms did you actually get completed? So this will really give us a snapshot of, where we can possibly help you guys. Because obviously, if you have X amount of leads, like let's say you have 30 leads here, but you don't have that many appointments, I mean, then we can kind of figure out like where to hone in on where to help you. So, and not only that, but if you don't, metrics are really everything. If you don't keep track of your numbers, you're not going to really know where you're going. You need to keep track of your numbers, and you need to really have like a kind of like a barometer of what you've been doing. And if you keep this up, if you keep doing this every week, it'll kind of give you an idea of what you can expect. And it'll put it right there, visualize everything for you, put everything in front of you. And that way, one thing that it'll eliminate is that roller coaster effect that we often get in this business, where we get the peaks and valleys, hills, the peaks and valleys, hills and valleys. And basically, you can see over the course of like 3 or 4 months that what you were doing. And obviously, like the past can give you an idea of what to expect in the future. So these are really good to really help you navigate your business. And it can help you to really understand like where you need help in, where you're strong and where you're not so strong. And that way you can actually do better or put more effort into that part. Another thing that you notice, like this sheet is asking for referrals. Leads are getting more expensive, and you guys should all be asking for referrals, because asking for referrals brings down the cost of or the per lead cost down. So as you're filling these out, this is a constant reminder, like how many referrals did you get? Because if you're not getting enough referrals, where your leads might be like mortgage leads right now are like $50 a pop. And if you're paying $50 a lead, you get a few extra referrals that week. How much more is that going to reduce the cost of your lead? So all this is very important. It's important to your success, and it's important for us to help us figure out how we can help you better. So today's topic is actually, we have a special guest speaker today who is an agent who actually He's actually a manager as well, who actually filled this out. And let me see if he's on yet. Hang on one second. All right, guys. Can you guys hear me okay? So I want to introduce Mr. Lamar Blackie. And I wanted to have him on because he had a very good week, and he's actually one of the few people that actually turned in this form. Let me just open up your activity report, Lamar.
Okay.
So guys, for those of you who don't know Lamar, he's been with us now for a little while. And you know, he's actually somebody that's been in the insurance business for a little while. And we have a great, how can I say, we have a great setup with Lamar. I'm trying to find your lead sheet, Lamar.
Okay.
not lead sheet, I'm sorry, okay, here we go. Can you guys see that? So Lamar, that is actually amazing. And so you rounded it off. What was it? $7,391.40.
That's correct.
So tell me, Lamar, how long have you been in the insurance business for?
Since 2005, been in the business since 2005, and then I exited the business around about 2013, got back in it around about 2015.
So you've been doing this since 2013.
Yeah.
And where, what got you into the insurance business?
Personal experience. My baby brother was murdered, and one of the worst feelings in the world is to, go to sleep not knowing how you're gonna bury your loved one. First of all, secondly, just going around asking people to help you with a responsibility that your family was supposed to take on themselves. And the thing that struck me the most was why I really got in this business. My brother was murdered in 2004.
Okay.
Is when the funeral guy, the guy from the funeral home said to me and my mom, he says, if you don't have $2,500, come pick up the body. And when he said that, man, to this day, that what he said still affect me. So I told my mom, I said, you know what? It's not going to happen again. Went and got my insurance license in 2005 and been doing it ever since. Like I said, I exited in 2013, came back in 2015 for reasons, but it's not a business I think I ever want to leave.
That's truly amazing, Lamar. That's a really, interesting way on getting into this business. So your brother was murdered?
Yeah.
And you didn't have any, from what I'm hearing, you didn't have any money to pay the, you did, but they wanted the money like yesterday.
Yeah, they wanted the money right then and there. And when he said, come pick up the body, I'm like, pick up the body? Like, that reality struck a chord in me. I was like, okay, this cannot happen again. No, it's not gonna happen again.
What were you doing? What were you doing before insurance?
I was working at Bridgestone Firestone production plant, making about $80,000 a year. When I did get my insurance license, Sam, I was doing it part-time. And part-time, that year I made 80 with the insurance company, but part-time, I made like 93. I made 80 with the company, the manufacturing plant, but I made 93 part-time with insurance. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm done working all these hours. I was working like maybe 70 hours a week, with the overtime included. They was killing me, man. So when I saw what I could do part-time versus the hours I was making at full-time, I fired them.
I like that. You fired them.
I fired them.
Should be. So what?
Hey, let me cut my phone off. Hold on. And I apologize for my tardiness, man. We was having some internet problems, so the guy was downstairs. I wanted to make sure he didn't disconnect us what he was doing, so I was watching.
Yeah, no worries. We're all still here. So where were you? You were at another IMO prior to this?
Yes.
How did you find Advantage One Brokers?
Well, I was introduced to you through Joseph Poe. And from that exchange, because I was on my way out of the business again because I had a bad experience with the IMO that I was currently with.
Mm-hmm.
And when I met you, I was like, okay, here we go again. I'm starting all over again. But the support and the honesty and the integrity between you, Chris, Spencer, I was like, man, I'm in the right place. I've never been treated this well by any IMO to where I matter. Even though it's a small number, but this small number, this person matters. And I feel like y'all treat me like a superstar. Actually, you treat everybody the same way. So that's what really made me come on board with you guys. Stay on board.
Yeah, Joe, that was I mean, Joe was actually a good agent too, and we're blessed that he actually introduced you to us
Yeah,
because you know
I
you've
am
been
too.
you're a man of your word so far. So what is, like you said, the major difference between us and we don't want to name any names, but
Yeah,
the other IMO that you were at, like you said, the major difference was, did you say it was trust?
yeah. I had about 29 agents. I had 18 in Alabama, and I had the rest of them in Atlanta. And I was getting reports that they were writing business, but it wasn't reflecting on the companies I was with. I was like, "You wrote how many policies?" And I'm going and looking at my reports. I'm like, "What you writing with?" "Oh, we wrote them with our other company." I'm like, "Well, I'm not with that company." So a bell went off like, "Dude, you just got hoodwinked and bamboozled." They was putting them with another company, not telling me anything about it. Oh, and this is why. Because they couldn't recruit in North Carolina, but they can
Mhm.
recruit in Alabama and Georgia. So they couldn't even tell me even if they wanted to, because they couldn't bring me on board because this territory had belonged to someone else. So that's how they took my agents. And it hurt me
They
because
took your agents from you.
yeah, I put so much time and effort into training with my business partners. I don't call them my agents, with my business partners. I spent a lot of time training with them. And then for somebody to, take a block of business where we was bringing in $180,000 a month with all of them,
Mhm.
reducing me down to zero, mentally, man, it was hard.
I can imagine.
All
So
of them were full time. They were working.
now, what kind of niche do you generally like specialize in?
Final expense. I mean, a lot of people may disagree, but if you can do final expense, you can do anything. I
Really?
mean,
Why do you say that?
because you're dealing with a market where people income is limited versus the other markets where people incomes are great or good.
Mhm.
And so when you're dealing with people who's on a budget and every month their check is going to be the same versus somebody else who can get a little overtime or they can, go get another job. Final expense market is it's the best market to be in as far as consistency is concerned, but it's a tough market when you're dealing with budget because everybody in that market has a budget, and you got to learn how to stay within the parameters of that budget, or you're gonna set yourself up.
So I've heard, I hear agents in the past, like they, how do you handle this? I hear agents in the past saying that, final expense, these people just kind of like, sort of similar to what you just said. They'll say like, these people don't have any money, so they don't want to work the final expense market. Like, obviously, you're not finding that. Like, well, how would you react to that? What would you say to that?
I mean, some of it is true, um, but in all cases, you just make sure you don't oversell. Ask the right questions. Look at their budget. Do the dime debt income. It's called dime debt income mortgage education. But with seniors, you just want to do the DI, which is their debt and their income. And then after you do that with them, it creates a great conversation as well because you're asking them questions to make sure that I pre-qualify you. I just don't qualify you by the health questions. I'm qualifying you by your income because if if I go over your budget, there's no way you're gonna pay for it. And it's just basically I did you an injustice and I've done myself one as well. So I kind of look at their income and I ask them specific questions, and they're not gonna always be honest. Is this within your budget? Sometimes they're like, yeah, I can afford this, and they say it, but sometimes they don't. But in most cases, you'll find out that if you stay within their budget, it'll stay on the books.
So you're asking a lot of questions, I take it, in the home.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah,
You're
oh yeah.
doing, like, you're also looking at their budget in the home.
I
Is that
do
something you always did, or did you
something I
just,
always do.
okay?
Yeah, so I pre-qualify them by their income, and then I pre-qualify them by the health question before I even ask the health question. Before I even look at the application, I'm looking into their financial situation.
Got you. So let me ask you this, like, this is a pretty good week. This is like what some people don't even make this in a month. Like people that have jobs, like what kind of like I see here that these are B leads. I mean, you know, some agents don't like B leads because they're really tough to work. How did you do, like, how did you do this working B leads?
So
Over that, if you don't mind.
so I woke up that morning and my wife kind of gave me a history lesson on our bank account that day.
Okay.
And so she was like, she took the day off. She was like, what you gonna do? It was around about 9 o'clock in the morning. I said, you know what? I got these old leads. They were mailers. I said, I had maybe 10 in one city, 7 in another city, 2 in another. I said, this is all I have right now. So I'm just gonna go. I'm doing drive-by. I'm pulling a Compton move on them. I'm doing drive-bys. I ain't calling nobody. So if I don't get anybody, then I'm gonna talk with the neighbors. So went to all those houses, and if I saw somebody outside next to the people that I was looking for, I went over and addressed them. And I damn honestly, man, I just basically asked them, you know, did they know Miss Jones? And it was like, yeah, I know Miss Jones. I said, have you seen her? No, I hadn't seen her. I said, listen, I'm here to see Miss Jones, but if I had something that can benefit you and your family,
Wait,
should I tell you? Yeah.
hold on one second. You mean to tell me that like some of these people that you closed were not even the leads, they were just like neighbors?
Listen, none of them were on the leads. None of them. They was either neighbors or somebody lived across the street. None of these people up here.
You just cold approached them.
Yeah, because I was desperate. I couldn't just leave that area. I done drove. So the Richardsons live an hour and 40 minutes from me. The first two. Miss Nixon lives an hour from them. Madeline and Brian lives an hour from Miss Nixon. And then the Edwards lived an hour and 20 minutes from the Myers. And Miss Hagan lived 40 minutes from there. So I was out all day. I was out from 9 o'clock that morning to 8 o'clock that night because of the traveling time. And so none of those individuals were leads. They were, I teed the lead. It's called teeing the lead, meaning that if you go to the house.
Explain that. I want you to explain that to the people on the call.
So whenever a lead is sent out, even the neighbors got the same piece of information. They just didn't send it back.
Okay.
So you can either approach and say, hey, you know what, Miss Jones, she filled out this card. Do you remember getting this card? Because we never received yours. So in most cases, they got it too, because that whole area was sent this lead card.
You blanket the whole area with the mailers, yes.
Yes, but the person you're going to see was the one that sent it back. And so I'll go to the house on the left and the house on the right. And sometimes, you know, I get creative. I say, hey, I was here to meet Miss Jones, but I was going to ask her to introduce me to you, and she wasn't here. So do you mind if I introduce myself to you? In most cases, they say yes. And I just build a conversation off of it based off of the feedback I'm getting from that person. But I always keep $5 Walmart gift cards. Every week, I go get 5 of them. And my Walmart gift cards is the reason I really got these people houses, because Mr. Roscoe, oh man, he was funny. He was like, why should I let you in my house? I said, well, I'm willing to pay for your time. He said, you can pay for my time? I said, yes, I'm willing to give you $1 per minute just to educate you and your wife about the new state regulated programs. He was like, all right. So went in there, gave him a Walmart gift card, sat down, come to find out they had a product that I could replace. But I didn't even go in there with replacement mentality. I went in there to say, hey, this is what this is going to do. If you cool with it, in 3 years, this plan is going to decrease by half. I got a plan that's never going to decrease. And I let them make that decision, educated them on it, and moved on. That was the hardest day. This was done on Monday.
This is all in one day?
Yeah, on Monday. I did all that on Monday.
Did 7K in one day? I thought this was a week.
That's on Monday.
Oh my God.
The only person I had to go back to was Miss Hagan's, because she couldn't find her banking information. She's the only person I had to go back and see. I went back and saw her on Thursday. But outside of that, man, that is the hardest day I've ever had in the insurance business.
It sounds like it was not only the hardest day, but a very fruitful day for you as well.
Yeah, I want the fruit, but I don't want the difficulty.
You can kind of put 2 and 2 together, where you can kind of like gauge from that, like if I really work hard,
Mhm.
if we work as hard as Lamar did on that one day, this is not going to happen like every single day, but this is the opportunity. Like this is basically what the potential is. If you really put your mind to it and you work hard, you get out there. I'm assuming it wasn't easy, just like,
No. And I'm gonna tell you what helped me out. In my mind, failure was not an option. This was a do or die day for me. Just looking in my wife's face and she say, "Hey, this and that," and I'm the guy that everybody depends on. So I left the house on a mission. And sometimes you got to get a little fire up underneath you, realize that you got a powerful license. That insurance license is so powerful. You got people who went to school. I have 2 degrees. I have a master's degree. You got people who went to school and spent. I'm still paying student loans back. I graduated from high school in '88. I graduated from high school in '84. Came out of college in '88. Went back and got my master's degree in 2012. People go and spend over $140,000 to get a degree. All you spent was $100 and something and got a license and make more money than most doctors make. That's a tremendous piece of paper power that we have in our wallets that we don't realize. And this day is a realization of that power and how this could be anybody's day if you just plan strategically. And one thing Sam says, and Sam, it is going to be the holy grail to my business. You cannot do this business without leads. It's
I want you
it's
to
not
talk about that.
impossible, but it's hard.
This is basically, I know that in certain areas leads are harder to get than others, right? So we were talking about that for a minute, but can you like expand on that? What you were saying?
Yeah. So if I kept a consistency of ordering leads, I will always, that Monday, even though it was a great Monday, that would have not been a conversation. My wife would have been like, "How many appointments you got this week?" Versus, "You got to go and do something." There's a difference. And so with the leads are providing you a full-time job, because if we don't see any clients, we unemployed.
That's
But
what I
if
said.
you got,
Wake up unemployed every day.
yeah, but if you got 5 appointments on Monday, 7 on Tuesday, 10 on Wednesday, 8 on Thursday, you are a full-time employee. You're full-time. You're working. You got people to go see. You got activity, and that activity is what's going to, because of the large numbers, is going to keep you being able to purchase more leads. So, the lesson for me in all of this, and I'm a very transparent person. I'm not going to make people think I'm somebody I'm not. I've learned now, you have to have an influx of leads. If you don't, you're just a situation away from getting out of this business. You ain't got nobody to write.
That's what I always say. Like, you can be the most talented person in the world, but if you don't have nobody to see, you're not going to write any business.
No, you're not.
No matter how talented you are, if you only got like 2 or 3 people that you're going to see that week,
yeah,
you're just not going to make money.
Talent is what we have naturally. But when we start purchasing leads and build up our phone etiquettes and we build up our approach, then we become skillful. See, talent we have naturally, but skill, it takes hours and hours and hours of beating on your craft, hours and hours of getting good on the phone, hours and hours of giving an award-winning presentation, hours and hours of knowing how to say the right things at the right time to the right person. That's when you build a skill. Talent will fail you. Skill will take you straight to the NBA.
There you go. That's amazing. And I noticed you also had some referrals on here.
Yes.
Talk to me about that.
Got some referrals. I used to be extremely excited about referrals. Now I approach referrals because there's no filters on referrals. When somebody give you a referral, They're just giving you a random name. You don't know if they got the income. You don't know if they work. You don't know what their economic situation is. So I can probably go to one of these houses and they don't even have a job. They don't have no income. And if they do, it's so small, so limited that they can't get anything. The difference is with the leads has filters on them. So it tells you what the range of income is. You don't know the exact, but you got a range. Referrals, there's no range of income. You don't know what the health situation is. You don't know anything. And if I close one out of them, that'll be great. So I have two
So,
appointments. So if I close one, that'll be great.
so what I hear you saying is referrals are great, but it's not something that you would like build your foundation on.
No, it'll fail you. It will fail you.
And that's because of the filters, because
There's no filters on them.
also sometimes you got to understand, like, referrals are good to supplement your leads, but the other thing that I noticed about referrals is you might be so good in the home that you might just kind of like get them to like take action, but they're really not that interested. Just because you showed up, you know, you convinced them, and then a month later you might get a chargeback.
Yeah, but I'm gonna tell you what I have found out, Sam. Mr. Richardson's daughter, I called her up after I wrote the policy with her mom and dad, and she's the only beneficiary. And I said, her name is Sharon Richardson. I said, Miss Sharon, I said, my name is Lamar. I said, I just left your mom and dad's house and I wrote a policy on your mom and dad. I need to meet with you so I can go, since you're the beneficiary, I need to meet with you so I can go over the policy provisions with you so that in the event of death, you know exactly what to do concerning your mom and dad. She was like, well, when you come by? When can you come by? That's a lead. That's a referral. Because that's what I'm going to use it as, a referral. I'm going to go by and I'm going to see her. And after I show her, you know, what I got on mom and dad, then I'm going to ask about her life insurance portfolio if she has one or not.
Excellent. So, yeah, so Lamar, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to open it up to questions to see if there's anybody that has any questions for you. If there's any of you guys out there that have any questions for Lamar, you know, right now would be the best time to ask. And just let me know and I'll either unmute you or you can just raise your hand.
Hi, this is Barbara. Good morning.
Hey, Miss Barbara, how are you?
Good. I first want to thank you, Lamar, for your words of wisdom and instruction. I've been selling final expense insurance over the phone for about 3 years, but you were saying some things that I've never heard before, so thank you.
You're welcome.
My question is, you said you qualify your prospects financially first. I'm just curious, what questions do you ask?
So I take a sheet of paper. I wish I had, I'm not even near a pen. I take a sheet of paper and I'm just going to grab this just for show. I take a sheet of paper like this and I put it in 4 quadrants. I put the D here. It's called debt, income, mortgage, education. So I put the D here and the I there, which is, I'm going to talk about that debt and I'm going to talk about the income. And then I just ask them basic questions, you know, what's your total income in the house? I ask them that. What do you pay out of that? And I go down the list and I'm going to tell you what it does. It creates a great conversation between you and them. And when they start if they give you one piece of information, that means you gain their trust. If they just tell you how much they make, you gain their trust. And then you just go down those lists and find out car payment, car insurance, food, light bill, water bill, cable. And then after I find out all that debt, I look at the income and I subtract the difference. And so I try not to use more than 30% of what's left over as far as income is concerned. Because, you know, if you do that, then you're going to have to sit with them every month when it's time to make the payments and put your pom-poms on and like, come on, Miss Jones, you can do it. You can do it. You can pay that payment. I know you ain't only got no money left, but you can do it. And you don't want to be in that position. You want to be able to leave and know that, hey, not only did I service them, but I gave them something that's within their affordability.
Thank you. I always ask about income, but I never thought about being detailed.
Yes,
I always
very
ask
detailed.
what they can afford, but your way of doing it to me seems like it's making them realize that they can afford it. They're not just
That's right.
thinking they can afford it.
And this is something I do, Miss Barbara. I never, ever give them the full amount. So, like, Miss Madeline. Miss Madeline's premium was $118. So I divided that 118 by 30 days because I knew it was a high premium. And when I looked at her income, she can't afford it. But you know, when you tell somebody their premium is $118, that's all they hear is 118. They don't hear nothing after that. All they heard was 118. So I asked, I said, Miss Madeline, I said, let me ask you a question. What's your favorite, restaurant? You're like, I don't really have a favorite restaurant. I said, well, what's your favorite fast food? She's like, McDonald's. Okay, McDonald's. How much do you pay for usually for a Happy Meal? She's like, I pay about $8. I said, I'm gonna ask you a question, and this is an ethical question now. I said, now be honest with me. Are you worth, if you had to go to McDonald's every day, are you worth $8.25? She was like, absolutely, I'm worth $8.25. I said, well, okay, well, great news. The amount of coverage you asked for $3.93, I can get you this coverage that you want. Now, she heard $3.95, $3.93. It don't sound like 118, although it is 118. It's a psychology behind it. And then she says, well, how much that is per month? I said, it's 118. But see, I sowed the seed of $3.93 to go along with the illustration of what you say you're worth. And she closed herself.
Wow.
She started laughing. She's like, oh, you got me. That's what she said. She was like, you got me. She said, if you said 118, I might have said no. But when you told me that it's $3.93 a day, she says, when I break a $20 bill, I can throw that in the jar. I said, my point exactly.
That's an excellent point, Lamar, because you know what? I never even thought about that myself, where when they start telling you their income, that's a whole, I guess, idea of trust. The fact that they're telling you that.
That's right.
Because once they give you all that information, trust is one of the key things that are going to determine whether they're going to buy from you or not.
And what it does, go Sam, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, once they give you that information, they pretty much like are spilling their guts to you. Like, they're giving you all their information. It's really hard to not close them after that.
And here's the thing, Sam, that method, they close themselves because now when I quote the premium, they can't back out because they gave me some pertinent information. They told me at the end of the month, they got $600 left over. So if I tell them that the premium is going to be $100, you can't say I can't afford it because you just laid out your whole, you laid out what you have, your budget. You laid out what you have left over. And guess what I do? I overcompensate. So if they say the light bill is $50, I put 60. They say the rent is $600, I put $700. And then I go back and say, you know what? You really make more. I said, look at my sheet. I kind of overcompensated for the things you gave me. Now I'm really putting handcuffs on them. And they close themselves.
That's wonderful. Is there anybody else that has any other questions? All right. I don't see any more questions. Lamar, Barbara, I want to thank you for that question. Lamar, before we let everybody go, is there any special tips that you have for the agents that are on this call?
Yeah, the Walmart cards, I'm gonna tell you, man, it's amazing how much a $5 gesture can get you in a house. I mean, it's amazing. And like I said, it's a tax write-off because I write it off as business expense, marketing expenses. And when I tell somebody, I got a $5 Walmart gift card just for you giving me 5 minutes of your time, not too many people don't shop at Walmart. Just about everybody go to Walmart.
That's true.
And so that has been a strong tool for me. And I always keep some. Every week I go get 5 of them. Every week. And I've had houses where they didn't want to let me in. I pulled out my Ace of Spades, my Walmart gift card, and like, hey, listen, I'm willing to pay you 5 minutes of your time just to educate you on the new state regulated programs. And if they let me in, guess what? I'd rather get in with $5 than to walk away with no dollar.
Absolutely. That's a great idea. Just to get in the door, because the opportunity is really good. Who knows how many you may be able to help these people, and you know, you can obviously get a sale out of it. So that's wonderful. Lamar, I want to really thank you for, you know, coming on here and talking about your week or your day. Really appreciate it. I'm gonna let all you guys go now, but I want to thank all the rest of you guys for being on the call, and you guys have a great week. And remember, start turning in your agent production reports to your managers. We will see you on the call next week. You guys take care.